Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are live. This is Empire State of Baseball, October 23rd of the year 2023, airing on Twitch, X, YouTube, and powered by StreamYard. Well, gentlemen, we have an action-packed show today, but we also have an action-packed championship round for both the National and the American League. After the first several rounds, wild card, all 2-0 finishes across the board. The divisional series round, not too much excitement, but we got a completely different ball game in the championship series with the AL side going to a Game 7 tonight, Texas at Houston. And then in the NL side, Arizona up 4-1 in Game 6, so trending for a Game 7, but that game is very, very far from over. Joe, how are you feeling on this nice Monday evening?
I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, listen, if you wanted excitement in these championship series, you've gotten it. Game 5 might be one of the best games of this decade as far as the ALCS was concerned, between the Adolis Garcia home run, the hit by pitch, the subsequent objections, and then the comeback by the Astros. That was one of the great games. Yes. And then even though it was followed up by a bullpen game with the Philadelphia Phillies, the Diamondbacks put a comeback on the Phillies and made this more than a series right now. And it's been a fun week of baseball going into tonight.
I hate to do it, but can we talk about the greatness of Jose Altuve and how my own respect for him has grown as much as I've watched him and just had pure hatred for the player he has been over these years. But he is starting to look like the Tom Brady of baseball, Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, you stole my words because I'm the one that texted you that I view Jose Altuve now the same way I view Tom Brady. I hate Tom Brady. I hated watching him win, but at some point, I was just ready to accept his greatness, and he was amazing. And watching him and being able to say you saw Tom Brady play, I know we got some Jets fans here who hate him, but it was still kind of special to see it. And that's where Altuve is at this point. I hate that little man. I hate that little man so much. He's done a lot of bad things to me. It's made me very sad in my life. But my God, you have to appreciate what he does, you know, despite the fact being a very tiny little baseball player. He's so clutch. He's unbelievable. And he is someone that you will tell, you know, future generations about this tiny little, once a cheater, but then, you know, kind of got himself clean, second baseman. He's incredible, man.
We posed this question on Twitter/X. If your life was on the line of the players today, who would you want up? And I put a couple options out there that were in the playoffs. Altuve being one of them, Harper, Yordan Alvarez, and Corey Seager being the other. And 32% of the 100 votes voted for Altuve, 36% voted for Harper, 25.
What you should have said, Joe, is you put Jose Altuve and 3 incorrect answers, because there was only, and you put that up before the Game 5 heroics.
Fairness,
the answer was always going to is Altuve. He's
in
done
all
it.
Fairness, it's not like Harper and I mean Seager's got 15 playoff home runs, and not like Harper and Yordan aren't game wreckers.
Yeah, I mean, Yordan's baby Poppy. He ain't no schmo here, Thomas.
Altuve's been doing it for so long, and in the biggest moments.
It's the biggest moments that separate him. It's the 9th inning. I think that I saw the stat was 3 9th inning or later game tying or go ahead home runs. I mean, that is an incredible amount. And those moments stick in everybody's mind. I mean, that's not a game 1, you know, these are game 5, 6s, and 7s that this guy
down 2. Home,
down like 2 on.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It was something. I was actually watching that game at a bar, and half the bar didn't really care about the game at all. And you could tell they weren't baseball fans, but the other half, for the most part, very upset. And that's because the Astros right now, one of the most hated teams across the league, especially on the Yankee side of things. And this is a Yankee and Mets town, both. So a lot of the people were not happy in the bar that were actually watching the game. But there's no denying his clutch factor right now. More to come on the Astros. We'll keep everyone updated too on the Diamondbacks Philly game as we progress throughout the show. But we have a lot of show today. I'm going to do a quick rundown of our lineup for this evening. At the plate, we have 2 special guests joining us this evening on the show. We have Julian Guillarte and Sandy Molinares. our player to be named later segment. So we'll continue with our games. We'll let Julian and Sandy both get in on the games tonight. So we'll see if they could impact our standings with tonight's game segment. And then continuing with the postseason push, where again, we'll continue to discuss the current state of the playoffs. But Rich, let me hand it over to you because I know we got a nice introduction for both Julian and Sandy for tonight's show.
Oh, yes, we do. It's now time for At the Plate. And very happy to introduce these two guests to your airways here on this Monday evening. Let's talk. It's our first dual guest. We have two guests with us, our friends over at Dugout Station. Both our guests, massive Yankee fans, and have been fortunate to cover both the major league and minor league teams on the road, out in the field, on the podcast. From personal experience, I ran into Julian Galarte in the past at TD Bank Ballpark over the last couple of seasons. He actually was part of Tom and I's former podcast, Savages of the Bronx, as a guest back in early 2022. Passionate baseball fan, football fan, loves to travel. Big Netflix guy. He watches everything. Making a Murderer, Love is Blind, what have you. He watches all. We're going to speak to him soon. Although, hang on, because we got more. I haven't formally had the chance to speak to our other special guest, and I understand she's as passionate about her baseball stats as she is her movies. Hell, it's in her Instagram handle. There you go, Millennius Films. She's a mom to a pro athlete, 2 puppy dogs, and when she's not watching Yankees baseball, of course, she's on your nearest hike trail. I'm talking about Sandy Molinares and my good friend, Julian Galarte, and at this time, they're going to join us here live on Empire State of Baseball. How's it going, Julian, Sandy?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having us, Rich.
Of
and
course,
company.
And it's a lot of company. We do have quite the block party today. We also have the Brady Bunch action going on right now, so bear with us here. But Julian and Sandy, pleasure to have you on. It's been a long time coming. We'll get right into it. And Sandy, I'll start with you here. How did Julian and yourself come together to form Dugout Station?
Julian and I met at a Yankees game in 2022, and we both have the same passion for the Yankees and creating content. So we started working together in 2022, covering Yankees and prospects. We enjoy highlighting, especially the prospects, and that's where we stand out from other channels. We dig into their stats and their performances and just highlight those players in the farm. And we just enjoy watching the games and talking about it. And so we started Dugout Station.
Yeah, Julian, I don't know if you wanted to further emphasize, but Sandy did allude to a lot of those interviews that you guys are a part of. Went down to the winter meetings last year in 2022. Hopefully we'll see you back down in, I believe, Nashville this year. But Julian, more on Dugout Station.
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having us on. It has been a while. That intro was fantastic. I got to tip my hat for the intro. You did a great job with the intro there. And yes, everything she said, I'm going to echo that. And we just continue to grow into the content together. Like, we were taking clips of the game, like doing our previews and recaps. Then we just decided to build all our socials, like TikToks, Instas, Twitters, and everything else. Kind of just kept rolling. Like, did a bunch of podcasts, and we just kept going with it. And now it's been a year plus. And yeah, we'll be at winter. We're looking forward to Nashville. So that's the next stop for us.
Yeah,
it's a great story to come together. I mean, I look at the other 3 guys here on our show here, and I think about all the stories of how we came together from softball or school or work, and it's just always incredible listening to your stories. But Corey, you had a question on your end.
No, I was just gonna say, I love to hear that you guys both like to focus on the prospects, because in a season like this one for both the Mets and the Yankees, I mean, it was such a disappointment, and we were already looking at 2024 before the summer even ended. So the one saving grace you could have in a season like this for both teams is that you got to start to look at the future, maybe see a little bit of the kids come up, play throughout the month of September. And listen, across baseball, most of the fans are pretty familiar with their top 5, top 10 prospect list. But want to ask both of you, Julian, we'll start with you, and then Sandy. Is there one prospect outside of the top 10 that you have your eye on who could make a pretty big impact? Maybe not next year, but a couple of years down the line. Maybe someone who's not as popular in the fan circles.
If we're gonna look at the offense, I think it's all about Ben Rice. That's one of the best hitters the Yankees had. He's not like a top 100 or top 10 on their list. He just emerged in the top 30 this year. He's a catcher and first baseman. His lefty bat is incredible. Defense might need some fine tuning, but he can probably hit in the Bronx maybe even next year, if not like 2 years. And I think that he had a really surprising year out of nowhere. A lot of pop, good contact skills. He's tough to strike out, and he always puts together a competitive at bat no matter what.
Nice. And I have to tell you, that lefty pop in Yankee Stadium, that seems to be the one thing that's missing, too, in the current lineup. Always had lefty pop with that short porch and right. They're missing it, so that maybe this could be the missing piece to get that lefty pop. And Sandy, from your side, what are your thoughts on I don't want to say an unknown, but an unpopular prospect who you think is going to make a big impact for this team?
Unpopular. Augustin Ramirez is unpopular.
Oh, that's a good pick.
He's playing for Somerset right now. I'm excited to see more of him. Defense is solid. We don't have much. The Yankees, I would say, as far as the catcher position, we need someone with exceptional defense, and I think that's the guy.
Thomas, I think if you look back at Yankees and their top prospects, it did seem like they did have a plethora of catching prospects back then. You go all the way back to the Jesus Montero days, and when they had Gary Sanchez, Austin Romine, and everybody seemed to pop up around the same time. So, Tom, you're the other Yankee fan here on the pod. What do you got for Julian and Sandy?
Yeah, no, we actually were talking a little bit about this. If we shift some gears to the current roster, I had mentioned a certain Giancarlo Stanton's contract pre-show, and Sandy's eyes just lit up with ideas on how to unload that albatross. So yeah, would just love to hear your ideas, because we've been kicking this around for probably about 3 years, Rich and I, and any new thoughts would be really welcome.
There's really no way around it. The Yankees
Sandy,
have to.
you gave me so much hope pre-show, and now I'm down.
Yankees have to eat some of that contract, even if there is a trade. I would say if they eat 40% of the contract and trade him away, of course, there's a no trade clause. He would have to agree to it. I can see him wanting to play for the Dodgers. I can see a trade like that. The only thing is that the Yankees are going to have to package him with a prospect just to entice the LA Dodgers.
Yeah, and I think you look at this Yankee team, and my question for Julian and then Sandy respectively, if you go off of MLB trade rumors, the arbitration number this year is about $54 million in players that are going to be arbitration eligible. This includes Torres, Holmes, Trevino, King, and Clark Schmidt, the big names on that. And the Yankees already have about $204 million payroll going into this season, not including those arbitration eligible players. The Yankees are looking at 258, 260 before we even get into free agency. We know Steinbrenner is not willing to go over that third luxury tier tax, which is going to be around 297. With these arbitrage contracts, with these big contracts like Stanton, when you're not getting production out of them, the Yankee flexibility is going to be limited. What do you guys see? Torres is probably the biggest question mark on his long-term future. As a Met fan looking on the outside in, I don't see how you can commit $20 million to Torres long-term if your payroll number is already approaching that luxury tax tier.
Well, he's going to make like 15 this year, but it's still a tough number. But I don't think he's the person he needs to get rid of. He was the second best hitter this year. We went over this at length on our pod the other day too. And I think they need to find other ways, like move on from some of the pitchers you don't need, or like get rid of all the bench. Like you can cut it down a little bit. And Stanton's that's going to be tough to do. Because if you want to do it, you have to give up like some good pieces, eat money. Like I don't think it's this year. I think if he gets one more kick at the can, probably, and then they might have to make a decision. But we'll see what happens.
I just can't bear to see another year of Stanton like that one. He batted below 190. He can barely run the bases. No defense. He he strikes out. He either strikes out or grounds out. I just can't do it anymore. It's the Yankees. That's 90 million. That the Yankees, but we have 4 more years of that. I think Cashman, this offseason, Cashman has to find a way to get rid of that contract in order to move more other pieces around.
And ultimately, I think, Sandy, you prefaced it before. I think the one way out is to straight up release Giancarlo Stanton. I know it's not feasible. It's 4 years. It's a ton of money owed. And what we saw this past offseason, this past season, was the Yankees weren't afraid to let go of some of these veteran players that did have money owed to them. And we know Donaldson still only had the 1 year left, but still $11.5 million was a lot to give up. And Aaron Hicks' 3-year deal, roughly around $30 million. And I know we stressed this also on the show, Thomas, about how the Yankees normally don't go down the route of letting go of veteran players because they want to try to bring in, veteran players at the same time, make sure that they're taken care of. With Stanton, though, there's only one way out. You got to release the guy, and it stinks. And you're going to be paying upwards to $25 million after luxury tax per year for vacancy, but that might have to be the route the Yankees go down this year.
Yeah, and with Stanton too, I mean, Sandy, you mentioned it. You couldn't even run the bases. The one play that stands out to me is when he got thrown out at home plate on a ball where I probably could have crawled home faster than he was trotting.
With one leg.
Unbelievable. That pretty much sums up his year. And if I look at the Yankees this year, one area I want to call out too was really look at their team OPS, for example. And when I think of the Yankees, at least from growing up, even to most recently a few years ago, always one of the best power hitting teams in the league. I know we mentioned a little earlier the lefty short porch. They don't have that anymore with the lefties in the lineup. But they were a bottom 8 team in OPS, and they just lacked that power. I mean, Giancarlo Stanton, 695 OPS. And Judge was Judge when he was healthy this year, but he missed a lot of games. Torres was the best, probably consistent hitter. He had the most at-bats for you this year. But in terms of going into the offseason, we know Stanton probably not going anywhere, even though he should. But what would be your primary focus area if you had to improve one aspect of the team, whether it is the power pitching? What would you like to improve the most? Sandy, we'll start with you.
Okay, what I'd like to see the Yankees improve on is the let's get more lefty bats, and also take a look at our outfield. Let's fill in those holes in the outfield and actually get a legitimate outfielder like Bellinger or
Say Juan Soto, Sandy. You just say trade for Juan Soto.
I would say Soto, but Stanton is in the way of all of these deals that the Yankees can make. That's the issue. I mean, I see Stanton as a Dodger. The Dodgers would want that type of player. He's good for home runs. He's good for that. So that can be good for them in the playoffs.
Yeah. My question is, and I mean, the problem with getting a guy like Soto or something, you almost ensure that Torres is no longer on the team. They're just not going to be able to afford if the goal, and if Steinbrenner, what he says is true, is to stay under that $297 million line. They have about $38 million to play with this season. I mean, to sign both of those guys to a long-term deal, presumably $20 million for Torres and 30 something, maybe even $40 million for Soto. Both of them can't be on the team past this year if the Yankees are serious about staying under that mark. And that's the big problem. I'll switch gears to pitching quick and ask you guys, the back end of the rotation kind of fell out. We know Cortez and Rodon's injuries were a problem. Severino, disaster of a year. Domingo Germán, we know what happened with him. Any chance? I think they're both gone. Any chance you see either of these Yankees on this team next year?
No, I don't think those guys will be back. I think Montas can maybe return on the buy low. I think the luxury tax has always been an issue with this Yankees team for some reason. But the other problem is that Cashman's allocated the funds poorly. But they should need – I think this is a time that they just need to go over. If they're going to go over and have to do it now to fix this mess, they might just have to just throw more money at it, always the right answer. But I don't know how else they're going to fix it right now without throwing more money at it and hoping that these new contracts work out a lot better. But I think the pitching's in a relatively good spot, and I think they'll make a nice play at Yamamoto too.
I hope so.
It's
Joe doesn't like
crazy.
to hear
Everything
that.
we've heard about Yamamoto has been
Yamamoto.
tied to the Mets. It's the Athletic.
That's the only thing
articles-
you've heard, Joe. That's the only thing you're listening to.
Your reporters,
Yeah.
your
The
beat
Athletic-
writers,
the
your pundits that
Athletic
you're
article
reading.
today literally said is Yamamoto to the Mets a foregone conclusion. So it
I
seems like
just
he wants a big market, and it's Mets, Yankees, and Dodgers is the general consensus of where he's going to end up.
I can see Mets. I think I read something today where Senga, like just having another player that knows your culture, knows your language there in that team says a lot.
I still question the fact that Billy Epler stepped down from that role, and he's the sort of guy that you want talking to these free agents since he has the success with two different franchises now. It's going to be weird to see what that negotiation is going to look like without Epler. So I know, Joe, you're not the guest here, but you brought it up. You think that's going to change with Stearns in tow, that Yamamoto will just come on over to the New York Metropolitans?
I don't know how much that changes. At the end of the day, it's not like Epler's, on the Yankees staff or on the Dodgers staff and is going to, give them the secret, the secret stuff to communicate with these guys.
You can admit he's been a good liaison for the last couple
absolutely he has. And I think that was a big positive and big selling point. I think he laid the foundation earlier this year. He took trips over there. Cohen has taken trips over there. But I think actually in this particular scenario, Senga is more important because Senga has that personal relationship with Yamamoto. He can come over here and have a guy he can sit next to in the dugout and say, what did you go through with Hefner? He can translate what Hefner wants from him very early on. And that's something that Senga himself didn't have and worked on. So I think that's a huge positive. Maybe Ohtani, if Ohtani has a team by then, can be a person who can woo him somewhere else. But I have the sense that Ohtani is going to come very late in the year, and I think Yamamoto will sign way before him.
Now, I'll take that, and I'll ask Sandy and Julie. I'll start with Sandy here. So, as I mentioned earlier, you guys went to the winter meetings last year. If I'm not mistaken, it was the first time you guys went to the winter meetings as a collective duo. Will you guys be returning to the winter meetings this year for the 2023 one in Nashville?
Yeah, we're going to the winter meetings. That's your question? Yeah.
Yeah, that was my question. Only to set up this. Do you think it's going to top the craziness of the winter meetings you went to last year throughout the Aaron Judge signings and all this craziness that happened? What do you think is going to be the expectation of this winter's meeting? Will it be just as nuts as last year?
Being that the Yankees are in a hot seat and they need to make moves this offseason just to make the fans happy. And we've had a terrible season. I mean, yes, I believe it'll be a lot crazier for the Yankees this year. Last year, it was a little, it was a little nerve-wracking because of the Judge signing. And, we were hearing stories that he may sign with the Padres or whatnot. So it was a little nerve-wracking last year because of that. But yeah, this year, I think there's going to be more action at the winter meetings. How about you, Julian?
I just can never forget the arson Judge bomb that Heyman dropped.
Oh, yes.
You should have seen that lobby and the frantic chaos. And then we had the press conference with Aaron Boone after. It was like the most awkward 5 minutes of our lives, probably.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, you got news for us? He's like, I don't know anything. I'm like, it was obviously a false report, but things were going nuts for a little while. Like, she read it in the air. I was like, what? And I was like, what the hell's going on? And then we were going off for a little bit.
That was a wild time. I actually missed that entire thing. I was on the exercise bike right before the tweet happened. I got off the bike, took a shower, and I checked my phone, and I was like, oh my God, Judge is a Giant. No, now Judge is a Padre. Now it's not real. And I read the half hour I didn't have my phone, the world ended.
But no,
Yeah.
it
Oh
was
my
it
God.
was it was like to see all the reporters scrambling in real time, like trying to figure everything out. Was like just it was just like a wild thing. Like everyone in the hotel was nuts. I
Yeah.
think this year's gonna be crazy too because you have Otani hanging in the balance, and that's gonna
True.
be huge. And you have Yamamoto too could be around that time because he gets posted December 1st. Everyone's wondering what the Yankees are going to do. Like they're going to have to strike something big there. Could Soto deal go down? Maybe that could be another storyline. Bellinger's going to be huge too. Like there's a lot of stuff to look out for.
Where do you guys think? Excuse me, sorry. Where do you guys think Otani is going to land?
That's the question.
To not
I
be a
personally-
Met homer, I have a hard time believing the biggest star in the game with the richest owner is not going to be. I think it's Mets or Dodgers. I don't think I think Steve Cohen is going to throw the bank. This is his chance to put his mark on baseball. I can see the Dodgers. The Dodgers have a ton of open money, but I honestly think it's between the two of them.
Okay.
Does anyone think there's a chance that because of the UCL injury and everything, that he signs something, still an insane AAV, but like a 2-year, $110 million contract, $100 million contract, and then because I wonder, I do really wonder what his not that he's not going to have a market, but he has to get paid less than he would have if he had an intact elbow right now. So does he bet on himself a little bit? I wonder if that is something that's in the cards and that he, says, hey, maybe let me chase a ring. Maybe I can go to Atlanta. I can go to Houston. They can afford that $100 million contract and let me just win a ring and then sign a big deal.
It's possible. And I think whatever contract he ends up getting, I have a feeling it's going to be loaded with player opt-outs also. So maybe that could be an instance, Tom, where he signs one of these contracts, maybe with like an opt-out after 2 years, goes ahead to one of these teams, opts out, and does it all over again. Still relatively young, still probably the best player in baseball. I want to bring up one story real quick related to Otani and his potential destination. So earlier this year, back in April, I actually went out to Los Angeles, did a tour in Anaheim of the stadium, and was talking with one of the workers there, asking his opinion, too, of what he thinks is going to happen with Otani. And he mentioned 2 teams, and one of them is obviously no longer in the cards. He said, I could see him staying with the Angels, but only if the Angels make a deep playoff run. So obviously that didn't happen. And he said, if not the Angels, I think and I hope it's the Mets. That's what he said. Not his words, not mine. So
Corey talks to the beer guy in Anaheim, and all of a sudden he's putting Otani in blue and orange.
Yeah.
What are we doing, guys?
Yeah, I want to meet these sources.
Yeah,
But-
seriously.
Well,
Joe's talking to rats. And Corey's talking to a guy like selling peanuts. Come on.
He would be a good
We
fit
have
with
guests,
the
guys. Let's not
Mets.
embarrass ourselves.
I think that it's going to be Dodgers. I think it's Dodgers. I think it's an easy move for him. I think they've cleared the deck for him. I think it's a more clear-cut winner than the Mets right now after everything that's happened. I think he wants to win. I think he's sick of the stuff that's happened in Anaheim. And the dark horse that I hate is the Boston Red Sox. I think the Red Sox have some real interest, and he might have some interest. If they're willing to throw the bag, you never know. But I'd much rather see him be a Dodger or Met.
Yeah. I tell you what, Julian, too, the Red Sox is an intriguing choice, but if I had a gun to my head right now and I had to make a pick, I would probably agree with you and say the Dodgers and think of all the reasons why it makes sense. I mean, you said they're a winning team, best chance for a ring. He doesn't have to move. You're literally in the same city. So from that aspect, it's great. You're just switching over to the other side of town. And also from a Dodgers standpoint, something about the Dodgers felt a little stale this year. And granted, they were a playoff team, won the division. We know that. But something felt a little stale. Now, if you have Otani, Freeman, Betts, I mean, talk about a lethal lineup, instant World Series favorites, in my opinion.
And an all-star team.
Talk about a disappointing NLDS coming for the Dodgers yet again. As the Dodgers go out in 4 games.
Incredible choke artists they have been in these first rounds. We're going to switch gears. We're going to head to our game in a little bit. This has been great talk. It's getting me hyped up for the offseason. This is like one of my favorite times of the year, regardless of how well or bad the Yankees and Mets season end. Looking forward to the offseason. There's truly nothing like it, and to think about all the possibilities, which we've been doing on our Instagram, by the way, and Twitter. And speaking of Twitter, Let's talk Twitter. Well, actually, FKA Twitter. We're talking X now. Yeah. We're now live on streaming on X, so make sure to give us a follow at ESB Podcast. Give our friends over at Dugout Station a follow as well at Dugout Station. And, of course, individually at G Gory, at JR Pugs, at Rich J. Rivera, at T Waspel. For Julian, just correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's at Julian Galarte 11 on X, or is it 1?
One is X and 11's Insta. You got it.
Well, you couldn't get one or the other for both. What happened here? We got 11 and 1. This is crazy. And Sandy, you can follow Sandy at Sandy. And you give Sandy a follow at Sandy Milena on X/Twitter. All righty. So before we head over to our game of Play to Be Named Later, Tom, you got some words over our friends at Roback.
Sure do. Last week we talked about how we have a new kind of promo code with Roback that you can use to help support us. Roback, last week I was wearing a incredibly comfy hoodie, some kind of bright colors there. Today I went a little more subdued. Yes, I want to be professional, have the polo on, just as comfortable. And I must say, of all the polos that I do own as a golfer, the best collars in the game. Golf polos, a lot of times they get like shriveled and they kind of like fall down. The Roback polo stays nice and crisp, looks nice. And again, a lot of fun designs or a little more basic designs if you don't want anything too wild. If you head over to roback.com and use promo code TWASPL15, you will get 15% off of your first order. Again, polos, Q-zips, hoodies. They have new women's stuff out now. They got jogger shorts, all kinds of stuff. Roback.com, promo code TWASPL15.
Now, I know Sandy's dialed in from the West Coast, but us East Coasters have been dealing with a lot of craziness with the weather lately. We've had record-setting rainfall over the weekends, these past few weekends. We had 50 degrees, 60 degrees, 70 degrees. Today was a beautiful day. Obviously on a Monday. Why couldn't it be on a Sunday? But to be prepared for all the wacky weather, go over to roback.com. Plug in that code TWASPL15. Get yourself a vest that's more durable than John Carlos Stanton's lower body, and use that promo code.
I mean, to be fair, a paper bag would be more durable than John Carlos Stanton's lower body.
That's right, and he should probably put a paper bag over his head because it was an embarrassing play we saw from him last year. All right, let's move on over the game. Good Lord. All right, well, ESB Games is off and running. We are winding down the games. This has been a big deal. I know Julian and Sandy new to the pod here, but what we've been doing all year long is we've been playing these games. We rotate them on a weekly basis, and we've been keeping standings all year long, and it's been crazy. It's been back and forth. Currently, Thomas with the lead with 18 points, but the biggest role Julian and Sandy could play right now is be a stopper. You know, they're at the bottom half of the division, and they're just trying to spoil a top half division, their division rival going into the playoffs. This is what it's all about here. So Sandy and Julian playing a big role. And for tonight's game, we are playing a player to be named later. Rules are simple. Just trio of hints. We're doing a Mets player and a Yankees player. So, Joe, get us going with your Mets player. What we got?
Sure. Okay. This player was part of 14 seasons in Major League Baseball, including part of 2 seasons with the New York Mets. This player was primarily a member of the Los Angeles Dodgers, but won a World Series with a division rival of the New York Yankees. This player made his Mets debut as a pinch runner on April 17, 2009. This particular game was starred by Livan Hernandez, who was our Guess the Graph star last week, and opposed Craig Counsell of the Milwaukee Brewers, who also pinch hit in that game. This player would share similar roles as Craig Counsell after their playing career is over. Who is the player?
This player was a part of 14 seasons.
Julian, Sandy, feel free to take a stab at us before these animals go off.
He played 2 seasons with the New York Mets.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
This is why we need like Jeopardy music in here now.
This is like
need some game music.
So they won a World Series with the Red Sox, basically. And they were a Dodger.
It could have been that Oriole World Series you forgot about recently.
No. Somebody's got to stop him
Could have
because I don't even know who this is.
I have an idea.
I have a guess also.
Yeah,
We do have a correct answer in the chat.
and that was going to be mine because I know I forgot if he made his debut pinch running. I forgot if it was 08 or 09, but I was going to say Alex Cora as well. And I saw
It is
John
Alex Cora.
I was not who I was going to guess.
The-
I was guessing Gabe Kapler.
I
Who gets
thought
who gets the point?
Huh?
Who gets the
Cor-
point? I guess.
That's
Oh, well,
Corey.
I guess a commenter in the chat. So
Yeah, John
Okay.
technically beat me to the punch. I was about
Wow.
to say Cora, but he did beat me to the punch.
It is
Damn.
Alex Cora. I couldn't say he's a current manager. I felt like that would give it away, but I want to tie in that Craig Counsell for future Met manager trivia part in there.
Mhm.
So
all right.
it was Craig Counsell.
So that is our guy there, Alex Cora. Thomas, I know you have the Yankees one, so let's take
Sure
a
do.
look at who you have.
Sure do. Let me pull this up here. All right. So this player pitched for 13 frightening seasons in Major League Baseball, including 1.5 with the New York Yankees. This player was a member of the Boston Red Sox team opposite the New York Yankees during their horrific postseason collapse in 2004 in the ALCS.
Happy Halloween.
And this player was devastating against left-handed hitters in his career. Held him to a 219 batting average and a 636 OPS.
I might know this one.
Go for it.
I'm gonna take a stab here and say it's fuck. Wait, maybe not. I thought I knew it. Damn it. I'm trying. It's on.
I like you getting involved in the season though, with you taking a stab at it. That would have been a good. Just getting involved in the
Another-
clues here.
So he's mainly a he's primarily a Red Sox player, but played only one season as a Yankee.
Actually, no. He really bounced around a lot.
Okay.
He only played for one team for 3 years. Everything else was a 2-year, 1 year, lefty specialist kind of reliever.
Okay.
We're talking here.
Okay, that was actually about to be my question: is he a starter, reliever? So it looks like a reliever.
But, yeah.
And I should have known the left-handed against left-handed
I was going to say Derek
hitters.
Lowe.
No.
No.
You got
No, not lefty.
I would say just the clues are right in front of you. They're right here.
I thought you were just getting us into a Halloween mood with these words.
And you know what? Maybe not.
Maybe I do have it. Alan Embry.
Not Alan Embry, although lefty on those Red Sox teams. No, we are in a
Alfredo Aceves. No,
No.
way too late, way too early.
no, not what we're thinking of. Halloween mood is a good. It is the Halloween season after all. So
One of this guy has like a scary nickname, spooky nickname. I don't know.
bit of a spooky nickname.
13 frightening seasons. No. Not Chan Ho Park, right?
No, certainly not Chan Ho Park.
Sandy, you got anything on your side?
No, I'm thinking.
Yeah, I'm a little.
Oh, I got it. I
I'm
think.
stumped.
Who is it, Julian?
Mike Myers.
It is evil incarnate. It is
Oh
Mike
shoot!
Myers.
Job done.
Oh man!
Well done.
Oh,
Mike Myers.
That was clever.
wow!
Michael.
I
Man.
like the way you allude to that, Tom. I think we all
That
have to
was
step up
fantastic.
our player to be named later clues going forward. I like that.
Oh, look at John. John getting the guys done.
John-
Alex Cora,
John got
Mike
two.
Myers.
I like that. Great description.
That was
Tom,
awesome.
Tom gets a point just for that great description.
Yeah, I knew it was a lefty
No, he does not.
specialist.
He
I was
says
just trying
we
to
need
figure out which
Good
one.
job, Julian.
Yeah, good
Yeah,
guess.
I'm gonna say, I mean, both of you
Yeah.
big movie watchers. Once I heard that, I'm like, they're gonna get Mike Myers. They're gonna get.
Yeah, that
They're
was
gonna get the
definitely help.
shapeshifter. though.
I was thinking on Halloween mindset once you said that. It definitely helped a little bit.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
What
Mike.
threw me off too is that year and a half on the Yankee part was throwing me off.
Yeah,
I
I'll be honest. I was just kind of
Yeah.
I was scrolling through Baseball Reference to find someone, and then I just saw the name Mike Myers, and I'm like,
perfect
well,
fit.
we're just. I mean, we have to use
Oh.
Mike Myers for Halloween.
Wait a second,
Well-
guys. We're allowed to use baseball reference for this game.
Well,
to
when you're
find
trying
a player.
when you're trying to find
Oh,
players.
we have an honor system
Oh, I
here.
see.
We have an
Joe
honor
uses
system here
baseball
on the show.
reference when he plays, but everyone
Yeah.
else doesn't.
Joe also likes to dirty up the ball for guess the draft, so he can't guess
Yeah.
the signature. He's a dirty player. Dirty.
Do you still have that ball?
Not
Dirtiest
up on
player in the
here.
game.
I deleted it the moment I lost, so I didn't want to see it anymore. All right. So that was a player to be named later. So thank you, Julian, for stopping these fools from getting another point. Good stuff, John, in the chat. And now, before we leave Sandy and Julian off here to enjoy their upcoming Halloween and whatever plans they got coming up this weekend, one thing I did want to touch on, which I love about Dugout Station, is the coverage you guys have on the major and minor league level with the interviews. I've mentioned before the winter meetings. Some of the cool, I mean, we could put them up here right now. There's some of the cool things that these guys have done over the last couple of years, talking to Nelson Cruz at the winter meetings, talking to Austin Wells. Sandy, I'll ask you then, Julian, any interviews or meet and greets that stick out to you over these last these couple of years here that you'll always cherish forever?
Scott Boras was a good one.
Ooh.
Yeah, at the winter
Does he
meeting.
smell like money?
Dude, he's like a true celebrity, and I love his references, his movie references also. He's like the best. They need to like write a book about him.
That's a guy who's got like such a big ego. You gotta like give him an extra chair.
Yeah.
Like he's
Absolutely.
got to just be like,
Yep.
Like you.
Does he need an extra chair for his wallet? It's so
I
low.
don't think I have this pill. My head's so heavy.
I love that answer so much. Like the Rodon reference he gave that went like viral was like something we asked. That was cool. Like he was talking about the shallow how like the waters and everything. Like he gives all these crazy metaphors. He walks in, he like commands the presence of the room when he walks in. Like everyone always knows what Boras is up to. Like the 50+ reporters on him. Like gotta try to get him one-on-one. That'd be crazy. We gotta try to get him. See if we can get him for the sport thing. That'd be nuts. But
That's great.
He's the man. He's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like interviewing Austin Wells. I've got to speak with him a few times, and he doesn't give like crazy answers. I just like doing the interviews with him and like seeing the progress from like spring training and like going through the different levels with him has been fun. So hopefully we can get him in the MLB next year. And that's a cool one. It's been a lot, but I like that one.
No, it's really great stuff that you guys do, and we're rooting for you all the way through. Over 20,000 followers on Twitter and X. That is an accomplishment of itself. So hopefully we meet that number by 2042. I think that's the pace we're setting right now. So hopefully we'll see you then when we're old and wrinkly and gross. But for now, we hope to speak to you guys soon. Again, good luck to you. Enjoy the winter meetings, and more importantly, enjoy Nashville. It's going to be a great time down in Nashville come December. Warmer weather and all that great stuff. But enjoy. Thank you. Any parting words of wisdom before we let you go, starting with Sandy?
No, I just want to thank you for having us. And, we're open to any invites in the future. This was fun.
Thank
Rich,
you, guys.
Thank you for having us.
You got it.
I'm happy to finally make this come together. Have some good times in Somerset, and just like doing both levels too. So I'm just gonna echo everyone, follow everyone. Let's keep the networking going.
Yeah.
Follow Dugout everywhere.
Sure.
Follow the Empire
Absolutely.
State of Baseball, the personals, and let's just keep growing. And we got a big few months ahead. Let's hope things get better for the Yankees and I guess the Mets too.
Yeah. Hopefully next time we do one of these together, hopefully it's a better time for both our teams. So fingers
Yes.
crossed for that.
Amen.
Absolutely. All righty. Thank you, Julie and Sandy. Take care.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
again.
guys.
All righty. And that was Dugout Station. So much fun talking to those two. And again, as Julian mentioned, it was a long time coming. Julie and I had the pleasure of meeting and talking to each other a lot. Very passionate about the Yankees, and it was great talking to Sandy as well. Make sure to give them a follow on all their socials at Dugout Station on both Instagram and X. Make sure to follow Julian. Here we go again. Julian Galarte 11 on Instagram. Julian Galarte 1 on X. Give Sandy a follow at Sandy Milena on Twitter, X, keep doing it, and at Milena's Films on Instagram. And that's all the handles you need to know. All right. So another handle that y'all need to know is our Twitch and YouTube, right, Thomas?
Sure do. The best way to watch our show, if you're not, if you can want to watch us live, is on Twitch or YouTube. Make sure you download the Twitch app I would say download the YouTube app, but I'm pretty sure it comes pre-installed on everyone's phone, and you probably couldn't delete it if you wanted to. But yeah, it's the way you want to interact with the show. Today we had the trivia. John was able to get some guesses off, get some correct answers, and that's the way to do that. So make sure if you have the Twitch app, make sure to follow the show. For YouTube, you can give us a follow at Empire State of Baseball on YouTube. We also post we do recaps, we do some short things, we do some clip things there. So check us out for any replay stuff going on.
The Mike Myers thing is killing me. I mean, it was right there.
That was such
It was
a
right
great,
freaking there.
Yeah,
Sure
it was.
I mean, you could have just made it more obvious. Even if you didn't know who Mike Myers was, at least taking a stab that it's related to a horror movie character.
And what was throwing me off too, like frightening, devastating. I'm thinking, did this guy have like 100-mile-per-hour fastball? Did he get drilled in the head or something? Like I was just trying to think of anything, and I didn't even think of the name right there. That was great.
Quick,
I just thought he was getting us in the mood for spooky season. That's all I thought. I didn't think anything about it.
Quick NLCS update. The Diamondbacks are up 5-1 in Philadelphia. It's the top of the eighth. The Diamondbacks have one runner on, and as that game, hopefully, we'll get to watch the end of it around the time we log off. But looks like at this particular moment, we are going to see a Game 7 in the NLCS.
And who would have thought? And we'll kick this off right into the postseason push. And thanks for that, Joe. We'll start here. D-backs and Phillies. No one had this pegged at this moment last week. At this point last week, everybody thought it's Phillies series. Could be a sweep. It could be a sweep. That's how good the team was looking, the culture, all that great stuff. And here comes the Diamondbacks, really doing a great job protecting their home ice, so to speak, in Chase Field. Big comeback wins, Kimbrel blowing back-to-back games, and now we're in a situation where in Philly, at CBP, the Diamondbacks might be pushing to Game 7. I don't think anybody had 2 Game 7s pegged. Did you, Corey?
I did not. I mean, I thought this series, especially the Philly one, was long done, over. We were doing this show last week. It already felt like it was over.
Yeah.
And now it's going to go to a Game 7, barring some crazy comeback. And then Texas, Houston, Texas, red hot. They were red hot at the start of the postseason, but there's no denying that the Houston Astros have been there, done that. The most clutch player in the game right now in Altuve, never count them out. That's going to a Game 7 tonight. I do think Houston ends up winning that Game 7 at home, but I did not see this Philly-Arizona series going Game 7. And they technically didn't get there yet, but with 2 innings left, it's looking pretty good.
Yeah, I thought the Rangers-Astros one had 6 or 7 written all over it. Just the seasoned veterans on both teams, the managers, everything. I thought that was going to be a dogfight all the way to the end. The Phillies series, the Diamondbacks looked from the very beginning overmatched. It looked like JV versus varsity the first 2 games. And you got to give credit to the Diamondbacks, and they have stuck it out. They've grinded it out. They got to Kimbrel the other day, which is no surprise because Kimbrel has had a fair share of blowups in the postseason. This just being one more example of that. And they've gotten life here now going into 6 and now 7. And that's the Phillies have basically just let him stick around. It's something I didn't expect from them. The Phillies bats all of a sudden have started to get cold. Sometimes the all or nothing approach can actually be a detriment. If Schwarber and Harper aren't hitting bombs into the second deck, they're not hitting. So it's a very strange series. I'm happy that it's going to go 7, but we're going to see what happens there.
I think Max Scherzer is going to take the ball tonight. He's going to look dead into the camera and say, "Joe Puglisi, eat my ass," and go 8 innings shutout ball.
Listen,
the Rangers are going to take it.
Scherzer is not pitching 8 innings of shutout ball.
Sure is.
That is. You can take that to the bank. All right, and this is a guy now All right, he blew
What
it for the
what
Mets.
will you wear if Max Scherzer? What will you wear if Max Scherzer pitches 7 innings tonight?
I wear my Mets Max Scherzer jersey that I probably burned the last year.
That's not gonna do it for me.
I mean, let's be real. Listen, Max is old right now, and they should. I don't understand. The one thing I can criticize Bruce Bochy for is why they started Max Scherzer in Game 3. Why didn't you put Dane Dunning in Game 3? He had a great year filling in for DeGrom. Why not put him in Game 3 so he's able to pitch Game 4? Scherzer just got off the IL. He pitches Game 3, and now out of necessity, after pitching 1 game in a month, he's going to be your Game 7 starter. It didn't make tactical sense to me, especially I know he had the games in hand, but I that's the one decision I can't agree with Bochy on at the moment. It just, if this blows up in his face, he's gonna have egg on his face for putting Scherzer in that position.
Dane Dunning, ladies and gentlemen, Dane Dunning. Yeah, I think he obviously at this rate would have been an upgrade, but you think it's just Texas saying, well, if he's saying he's healthy, he was our big trade acquisition, we gotta run with it. Like, is that the situation they had to force themselves into with bringing in Scherzer?
I mean, you gave up a top prospect for him. You're trusting him. You're paying him all this money, and at the end of the day, he's a Hall of Fame pitcher. So they're gonna that's how they sell it. They're gonna sell it that way.
Yeah,
I think you can. I think it's a lot easier to look yourself in the mirror tomorrow if you lose, saying we threw Max Scherzer, who's going to be a Hall of Famer, then we pitched Dane Dunning, as Joe would say, or whoever would the other options be for the Rangers. I just think that's, you can't, if you don't and you lose and Scherzer's left on the bench, that's going to be like the ultimate, why would you not use him? You acquired him. You acquired Max Scherzer to pitch this game.
That's exactly right. And that's why you paid the price. They took some ammunition to get Scherzer over there. So you paid the price for him. Whether or not he delivers, time will tell. We'll know this time next week when we're doing the show. Are we ripping Scherzer? Are we praising him? We'll see what happens, but more to come on that.
More to come on that. Houston Astros, sorry, not the Houston Astros, the Texas Rangers riding the Creed train. Love that. Love bringing back Creed. They had Scott Stappen over at Globe Life. Good to see him get work. So that was nice of the Texas Rangers to do that. But yeah, it's going to be a crazy series tonight. Christian Javier opposing Max Scherzer on the mound. Javier thus far this postseason, he's another playoff beast that the Astros have stored. Has one of his worst seasons to date, and then comes in and shoves in these playoffs. 2-0 with a 1.69 ERA, 12 Ks through that.
Speaking of Scott Stappen and Creed, real quick, have you guys ever heard his Marlins Will Soar song on YouTube? Oh my God. If you want to hear an absolute banger, you search Scott Stapp Marlins. It is an incredible song, a song that he recorded for the Marlins and his fandom of the Marlins.
Well,
one of 5 fans.
Oh, guys, I'm telling you.
I'm one of them.
I'm one of them. Oh, it's so good. It is so good.
Listen, back in the day, I think Tom, and even Corey too, back in the old WWF days, they used to plug the old My Sacrifice to like the highlights of all the WWF wrestlers. Like, Creed brings me back to the day of being a wrestling fan, and just, oh God. So I love to see them coming through for the Texas Rangers. And I'll actually make this one note about Texas and the Astros. It was the forefront picture of our story earlier today when we did a preview poll, was Adolis Garcia teeing off at the Grand Slam off of the Astros. I forgot who was the reliever. I think it was Stanek for last night's game. Did you guys have a couple thoughts on the incident between the Astros and Adolis Garcia?
Yeah. Listen, two things. When I first saw it, I thought it was trouble, but as you think about it, there's no way Abreu's trying to drill Garcia there. Not in that situation, in that game of the league championship series. I mean, the notion that he wanted to drill him, save it for next.
There's been fights in LCSs before, and there's been guys hit on purpose. I don't know.
Not down 2 runs with the guy on. It makes no sense. Maldonado was set on the opposite side of the plate. He stepped him. It was called from the dugout. And from the Garcia perspective, even if he drills you on purpose, you cannot get thrown out of that ball game. under any circumstances. You need to take your base and let the pitcher get ejected. If the umpires deem that he got ejected, fine. So be it. It was actually a blessing in disguise because Leclerc ended up sitting there for half an hour, half warmed, half cold. I don't know if Abreu was going to get out of that jam. The Astros bring Presley in. All of a sudden, he rolls a double play, and they're out of the inning. And all of a sudden, Dusty threw a complete shit fit, and the Astros all of a sudden felt life. It was a shot of an adrenaline to them.
Yeah.
They woke the beast. And Odolis, in a league championship series, turns around and gets in Maldonado's face, gets him ejected, puts his closer in a compromising situation, and then all of a sudden the Astros are beating him with a bat in the ninth inning. And Altuve does what Altuve does best.
I mean, it's really easy to say like that, have that reaction when you hit a huge home run. You do really watch it, which, hey, it's a huge home run to hit. I think it was intentional, and listen, if you get hit like up high, up and in a fastball like that, it's almost impossible to just say, hey, I have to keep my head here. He probably wasn't assuming he was going to get hit. I think it's a fair reaction out of him. I think Abreu, and I think it's ridiculous that MLB said, hey, Abreu, you're going to stay suspended, but we're going to move it to next year. If you think he did that on purpose, then he should be suspended now.
I don't think they thought it was. I gotta be honest. They don't. The MLB.
If they don't think it was on purpose, then they shouldn't have suspended him.
Correct.
But they shouldn't have ejected him to begin with. They do it to back up their umpires. They don't do that because they pass judgment on whether he's guilty or not.
That's you guys get thrown out of games all the time that get suspended. If you don't think it was, if you think he did it on purpose, then suspend him and suspend him now.
Game 7 of the World Series.
Yeah.
Well, you can't throw it. You can't throw 98-mile fastball at people's heads either.
And I will say,
I
I
hit him in the ribs.
I personally am a fan of bully ball, but there's a time and place to do it. I mean, I agree. Game 6, Game 7 of a CS series, absolutely not the time or place to do it. You want to do it opening a series in June, when you still got several months of baseball left to play. Sure, I'm all for it. It adds a little excitement. I personally love those heated rivalries where the emotions start flaring. It shows the pure emotion for the game, gets the fans into it. I'm all for it. But there's a time and a place. Even in the regular season, if you're in August, September, 1-0 game in the 8th inning and you're fighting for a playoff spot, not the time to do it, much less so the playoffs. That's just,
Listen,
a general statement.
Even at the end of the day, MLB has started to support this notion of flipping the bats and celebrations and stuff because it gets views for young people's eyes. But the people they didn't tell that or ask if it was okay are the pitchers. The pitchers clearly do not like this stuff, regardless of whether this was intentional or not. When you flip the bat and dog it around the bases, this is not accepted in any profession, in any walk of life. It's not in the business world. It's not. There is something called mutual. It's not respected at the Olympics. It is something called mutual respect. And as far as we go down the line, when guys get you and pop a home run and show you up and dog it around the bases, that is a professional athlete that is supposed to be on par with you. And when you show that person up in your own profession and embarrass them on national television, there's going to be consequences.
I mean, that's not a Major League Baseball problem. That's a problem.
It is a Major League Baseball problem.
No, you see it in all sports. You
see
it. I mean, you see it in the NFL. You see it NHL. People celebrate goals. Basketball. You see NBA. You see guys celebrating. It's not an MLB specific problem. I particularly don't love it, honestly. I don't like it. I do think it sends kind of a bad message. I do think it's really bad for sportsmanship. But I don't think it's just on Major League Baseball.
I think the mark on kids is a problem because now kids don't show respect for one another. I think that is a reflection of a lot of issues in this world right now is the lack of mutual respect for each other. I think this is, to a very small degree, perpetuates that as young children watch the game.
Yep.
I think that's a problem.
No, I completely.
Am I on the outside looking in here?
Huh?
I feel like I'm the only one who disagrees with all three of you guys, actually. I think it's great. I think it's great for the game. It keeps eyes on the product. The Jose Bautista bat flip from years ago. Oh, one of the most talked about sports moments of the year. I will.
He got knocked out because of it.
I understand
he sure
disrespect, but I
did.
also understand gamesmanship too. I'm all for it. If pitchers want to show up batters, if batters want to show up pitchers, do it. Make this game fun because that's what it's ultimately for. It's fun.
I'm all for it.
That's my.
I'm all for it in big moments. When you hit a home run like Garcia hit, I'm all for it. Batista, it was at the moment, like I'm all for it. I'm not for it in the 4th inning in June when you're down 2 and you hit. That's what I really don't like. Big moments. I again, it's the emotion. Like let it wash over you and all of that. But
yeah,
I just don't like it in other moments. I do think I agree with Joe. I do think it sends like a bad message. But I think we're also just we're past that. We've kind of accepted it, and it's going to continue to go on.
I'm of the hockey mindset. If you do something, you have to step out on the ice with the guy. Years ago, Sean Avery said something about some guy's wife or whatever, and the NHL suspended him, and that was soft for hockey standards. But the ultimate thing in hockey is if you tick off your opponent, you got to go out on the ice. That guy has full right to lay you out. And that's why, same with MMA. We have this disrespectful banter. Conor McGregor does it. At the end of the day, he's got to step in the cage with the guy. And we've taken that out of baseball. If you do something disrespectful to a pitcher on the mound, MLB suspends the pitcher because nobody can do anything about it. The old school guys said this didn't happen back in the day because MLB wouldn't do anything back in the day. You did something disrespectful, you're going to wear it in the ribs. And that's the problem I have.
That's also not good, though. That's also a bad precedent to set because that was pitchers used to get upset if someone hit a home run and put their head down and run around the bases. Just hitting guys, throwing in the high 90s is not good
marketing
for
the disrespectful actions as good for the game while disciplining only one side. That creates animosity, and that's my problem.
Yeah, I agree. I think time and place for everything. And Tom, you said depends on the big moment. And the first one from a Mets standpoint, at least, that comes to my mind is Drupal Cabrera, 2016. At the time, they were battling with multiple teams for that wild card spot, and Drupal Cabrera hit a 3-run home run to walk off against the Phillies in extra innings. They were, I think, losing that game at the time. Big moment, epic bat flip, love it. And then, Joe, I thought you said it great. A lot of this now with the content and stuff, people are doing for clicks, getting views. But if people want to click and view our content, Joe, how could they follow us on Instagram?
Great segment, Corey. They can follow us at Empire State of Baseball on Instagram. They can follow Corey at Corey Favs, myself at JR Pugs, Rich at Rich J. Rivera, and Tom at T. Waspel on Instagram for our archive recaps, reels, games, and anything else that we might post, upcoming schedules, things like that. They'll all be on Instagram. You can follow us there.
A little less than 2 months into the football season, and Corey with the pass of the year on our podcast here. What a play right there. That was unbelievable.
There we go.
All righty, well,
I think Aaron Rodgers-esque.
Too soon.
Yes.
All right, anyway, next week we'll be back here, episode number 66 of Empire State of Baseball. That's Monday, October the 30th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I know Tom set the tone with the spookiness of this trio of hints. We got probably some spooky segments lined up for you next week, including a trick of the trade, rather, for next week's episode number 66. And then our season 2 finale. We haven't plugged this at all. We're going to do it right now. Episode 67. That will be on Monday, November the 6th at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time will be our season 2 finale. At that point, we're going to know who our World Series winner is. We'll start hyping up the reward season. And of course, the off-season series will get kicked off shortly thereafter. I can't believe we've already reached this point. We're already winding that down too. But that is the end for episode 65. Corey, you want to take it from here, bud?
Yeah, listen, thank you again, everyone, for today tuning in. We had a lot of great activity in the chat, so thank you to all who participated. And Julian and Sandy, great discussion with both of you today. Definitely looking forward to more of that in the future. Like I said earlier, hopefully next time we do this, it's a lot better of a situation for both of our New York sports teams. But let's send everyone off here. Joe, any last thoughts or final goodbyes or thank yous?
No, excited to watch. Thank you for all the playoff teams for getting to Game 7. And then next Sunday is going to be a good day because it's going to be Jets-Giants next Sunday, which is going to be fun. So thank you for the NFL schedule makers to have a fun weekend ahead of that.
Thank you, Max Scherzer, for shutting down the Astros tonight and not giving up a huge home run to Jose Altuve. I'm not jinxing anything.
A quote by Thomas earlier: "Joe, eat my ass." Max Scherzer right up in
That's
the
what Max Scherzer said.
eyes.
I didn't say it.
Oh my goodness. Max Scherzer saying that would be gold tonight. But it's going to be a wild Game 7 in Texas between the Astros and the Rangers. Again, big thank you to Sandy Molinaris and Julian Gallardi of Dugout Station for joining us tonight. It was a long time coming that we get them on the stream, and we certainly did that. So looking forward to watching that back up on YouTube and Twitch. Corey, wrap us up.
Yep, my last thank you is thank you to the weather. We finally got some softball this past Sunday in a rainy Northeast, but that's a different conversation. But until next week, take care.